The God that I've met that was like, I want you to see me, I want you to see you the way I see you. That God I met outside of the church in the dark times. And so that's actually what brought me to the point of being able to say all of those people that went through all that crap that were like, God, why? In those moments when they're saying, God, why? I don't even look at the whole, like the footprints in the sand where he's like, those are the moments I carried you. He's like, no, I left you here because it was going to make you stronger. And we needed you stronger because when you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to take beatings and you'll be able to handle them. Just be humble enough to be willing to learn.
Dude, Nate Feathers from Nashville, Tennessee, thank you so much for joining me today, man.
Absolutely, man. Glad to be here.
It's an honor. I found you on Instagram, and what solidified me at reaching out to you was your post about grabbing your child by the face, looking him in the eye, and telling him how grateful that they came to your family, to my family, and how much they're loved. Dude, I felt it, man. You have this intensity. You have this intensity, a loving intensity that, dude, just hit me in the core. And I imagine your kids are feeling that. And I just thought this guy is dedicated to being a father. So I would just love to know your story and some of the defining moments that led you into this journey of teaching dads non-traditional fatherhood.
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, I was raised in that traditional home. So my dad was a pastor, and there was nothing wrong with how, like, I don't look back with angst or anything like that. I mean, all we're supposed to do really is build on what we've been given, right? And there's a lot of things that I think when we get older, I'm 43, so probably in my 30s, like you start like looking at your life, and a lot of people turn around and start blaming their parents. So, you know, like you want to be around your parents when you're little, and then as you become a teenager, you don't want to be around them and they don't know anything. And then maybe in your 20s, you start looking back like, yeah, whatever, that's kind of great. And then you start realizing more and more stuff. And there's two options, I think, when you get a little bit older and a little bit further out into the world, is you go, my parents might have really screwed me up. And you either blame them for that, or you go, nah, they did the best they could with what they had. And I even say that with the utmost knowledge that there are parents way back in the day that really did some damage to their kids. And some of that comes, in my mind, comes from the damage that was done to them that they just didn't they didn't work through it before they had kids. And then you add kids to the mix of already being dysregulated yourself, and you're a ticking time bomb, in my opinion. My parents, I don't think my mom's, it's so funny because my mother passed away when I was 21. And so my brother and I have literally said, I don't even remember her yelling. Like, I can't find a time in my mind where she yelled. But I do know we were like, it was a spanking household, things like that. I say it all the time. If you don't choose how you're going to parent, you will default to the way you were parented. And so when I became a parent, I literally just looked at it like, oh yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to get married at some point, and then I'll have babies, and then that'll just be part of life, and that's it. And so everything was really like a default factor for me on the first one. And his name's Zeke. He's 19. I'm really proud of him. He's doing a lot of good stuff. It's just when I look at my life with him, I go, man, I could have done so much better. I could have done so many things differently. And so really, when I took him to college, he's a sophomore this year. So last year, it really hit me. And I was like, I could have done so much better than I was doing. And I had 4 more. I got 1 on the way, so I'll actually have a total of 6. But 4. I had 4 left in the house, and I'm like, I'm not doing that with the other 4. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to do something different to be what they need. And there were like decisions along the way prior to that probably brought me here. But I remember I posted, and I get a lot of pushback on this, but I posted in a reel about how I don't think we should spank our kids. I got so much pushback from that. I had so many people saying that I was everything from a snowflake to a false prophet. I had some really, really serious religious people telling me that it's a good thing I'm not a pastor anymore because I was leading people the wrong direction. And I just thought, I looked at my wife and I said, the pushback I'm getting from this tells me I'm going in the right direction. I'm definitely going in the right direction because I'm getting so much flack for this. It's got to be right. And you think you kind of said it. I don't know if you said it before we started recording, but you said that you felt like God wanted you to start this podcast, and you're like, I really don't want to do that. And then you did it, and then all these people start showing up into your like space to make this thing fly. And I really think that's what God does. He's like, all right, I want you to do this. I'm going to put it out there. You're going to get that feeling inside of you that's like his spirit talking to you, like you should do this. And you like, he's already given you all the tools to do it. And so I see him as a dad going, yep, go that way, go that way, go that way. And then when you get the pushback, it's kind of like, you have to push through that because you will become stronger. And I need you stronger for the other side to do what I've made you to do. You know, you look at all the prophets, they got the crap kicked. Some of them literally got the crap kicked out of them, right? And
yeah,
God
stoned.
Yeah, exactly. Like stoned, beaten. Was it Jeremiah was like thrown into I want to say he was pushed down into a pit of some kind, like really tight, like stuff they did to these guys. And they would go like say something to the effect of, why would you do this to me, God? And truthfully now I go, you had to go through that. You would not have had the words to say to the people of Israel if you had not gone through that. And although he let you go through it and it was painful, you would not have done what you did if you did not grow in the midst of those beatings and those stonings. Like, you became the human you were supposed to be for the message you were supposed to have. And that was like, and I mean, I'm not getting stoned over here. Like I'm not getting like rocks thrown at me and stuff like that. People are just saying mean things. And honestly, I'm a people pleaser. I have been for like, that's the way I usually am. But something just clicked where it was like, you can't hurt me. And I'll say what needs to be said. And I'm not afraid to be completely against, even if it's church people, I'm not afraid to be completely against it because I know I'm going the right direction. That's really what got that going. And a couple of my videos went viral, and that's really what started the following. And I mean, I can tell you, when I was leading a church, I can see it still in my head. I was leading the church and I was teaching, and it was almost like everything stopped. Like the whole, I mean, like I'm gonna age myself for sure. The whole Zach Morris when you were watching Save the Bell and he'd like pause and everything would stop. It was like that. It was like everything paused, and it was like all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I'm made to do this. This is what I'm made to do. I'm made to teach like this. And at that point, I was thinking church, but I think God had something way bigger in his mind, because now it's a church of what, like if I want to call it that, a church of 150,000 people that I could connect with every day and talk about being a dad. And I reference all that stuff back to God. Like I may not do that in my reels, but I understand why the scriptures, like why even Jesus was like, Father, because as a dad now, I see God so differently that I just want I want my kids to see themselves with the eyes that I have for them. And I think that that's the way God looks at us too.
Dude, that is awesome. Yeah, yeah, you said a lot of things there. Actually, yeah, man, there's so many things I want to talk about. I really loved the part where what you were saying about like going through hard things to be able to like talk and relate and to have authority to teach. And I was reading in 2 Corinthians this morning. Paul says, we are tried in every way, but we are not crushed. We are perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed. And dude, that's what you're talking about. Dude, I felt that too. And not to the extent you have, because you've taken some bold stands. And I know exactly what you're talking about. The post where you said like, dude, do not hit your child, like how brutal it is. And dude, you even swore in it. You took a stand. I loved it, dude. It was freaking powerful. And you're saying, is that where you kind of like grew a following, like that kind of, is that where you blew up a little bit?
Yeah, so the one you're talking about was actually, I did a post last year sometime like late November, and it was about that, spare the rod, spoil the child. The one I just did kind of came back to that same thing, and it was even more solid then. Like the one you're talking about, it was very staunch. Like, I don't care who you are or what you say to me, you will never change my mind that we are not to do that, ever. And so as a I don't know how I view myself. Like I'm a man. I'm a man. Like
Hmm.
there's no question. I am a full on dude. I love being a guy. I think there are things that are masculine and feminine, and I adore the feminine from my wife and my children. There are feminine traits that we men carry, like our that subtlety and the comfort. We can do those things. But
Hmm.
I tell my boys constantly, we are made bigger and stronger generally
Hmm.
because we're made to protect and to help and to serve. We don't use our strength and our power to push down those who are smaller and weaker. We use that same strength and power to build them up and lift them up and protect them. So when all of that, like with all of that, comes this, yeah, I'm not going to be afraid to say that in anybody's like, and I don't mean like get in your face, but if a
Yeah.
guy was to be like, no, you should totally spank your kids, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. There is no place for that ever. And that one came from, I was talking with a friend of mine. She's an online teacher, and she talked
Hmm.
about how they did like a brain break, and she put on some music. My guess is the father thought the kid was fooling around,
Hmm.
but he on video the kid had the screen on and he hit this kid with his belt. I don't assume he was trying to hit the kid in the face, but that's where he caught him. And like it sent a rage through me that I was like, I could crawl through the computer and find you, and then we'll talk about who gets to beat who. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's our job, is to stand in the gap for the weak and the young and the needy, you know? And so yeah, there's been a lot of that one specifically is one that gets people pretty riled up, and it doesn't bother me that it gets them riled up.
Yeah. Well, dude, so I mean, let's go further with that.
Yeah.
How do you discipline your children when they're fighting and they're getting violent? You're
Yeah,
boys, right?
I do. I have both. I have three boys and two girls, and my
Yeah.
wife
So
sees these things.
there's
Yeah.
violence. There's yeah. I have three kids. There's hitting.
Yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
dude, yeah, let's talk about fatherhood.
Yeah. I just talked with a guy who was like, "How do you stop your kids from hitting each other?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure that's a brother sister. That's gonna happen."
Yeah.
You know, you get frustrated. Kids, I think we have this tendency to do that. It's like a natural, innate. If you watch like animals in the wild, and I don't mean we're animals, I just mean if you
Hmm.
watch them, you know, one comes up to another, and if it doesn't like it, it like paws at it, bites it, whatever. It could turn into a fight. I just kind of see kids like that, like they're raw humanity, and they just got to learn. And so a lot of times it'll be, hey, hold up, what are we doing? You know, come back and bring them around and like, what's going on? Okay, tell me what's going on. Tell me what's going on. You know, you're talking to them that way, and then my boys know actually at the top of the stairs 2 days ago, he Finley, who is 8, hit Wyatt or like squeezed him, like picked him
Hmm.
up and squeezed him real hard. He was mad at him, and Wyatt is 7, so they're really close in age and they're together a lot. And I said, when do we put our hands on people? And he said, when we get in the cage, and what I mean by that is like the octagon when you fight for
Yeah.
real.
Hmm.
And so when we get in the cage, and when someone is like attacking or hurting our family, friends, or people that need help. And I said, that's when we do that. Did either one of those things happen? And he's like, no. And I said, then do we put our hands on each other? No. All right, let's make this right and let's try it again. And you know, if he's going to keep hitting or there's going to keep happening, all right, then we got to separate, and you can't be around him right now because it's not safe for him. But that's a full on like that just happened the other day where they're doing that, and that's how I handle it. This is the part I think that sometimes I needed to separate out of the church because there's a place, in my opinion, there's a place for violence, and it's the protection side of things. You know, like someone comes into my house, I believe that like the Jesus thing is to stomp that person until like help arrives, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, you know, I'm going to get up and I'm going to handle that situation. And I believe that there's a place for that. So I try to kind of pull the John Eldridge move and just say, here's the place for that. You do this, and give them the ability to go, this is where all that like the frustration or the situation deserves more of that, for lack of a better term, like righteous
Yeah.
indignation.
It's a good term, man. I'm with you on that. I'm interested to know you're talking about your son went to college and you said, I don't want to do some of those things for my younger children. What are some of those things that you decided to change?
Oh man, like that's the thing. As I was, so my oldest has seen me put holes in walls because I was mad.
Hmm.
And I was dysregulated and stupid. And now I got to fix a wall. I'm mad and now I got to fix a wall. I broke a closet door when he was real little. Like, I mean, we're talking baby. He wouldn't stop crying. I set him down nice and gently and walked over and just shoved my hand through a door. I'm like, I remember being like, who the heck is this guy? Like, where did all that come from? I don't even know who
Hmm.
this guy is. And it was just me not knowing how to handle anything. He had, I mean, I spanked him. I can tell you, the last time I spanked him, his cry, I felt his hatred. I don't know how else to
Mm.
put it. Like I felt him in his cry say it without saying it. I hate you. And it had nothing to do with the discipline I was giving him. Because I mean, if I'm gonna let natural consequences happen and not save you and things like that, and you're like, man, Dad, I hate you. Why can't you just do this for me? That's different than what I just imposed on him made him hate me. And I can clearly see that whole scene in my head. And if I could take that all back, I'd go back in an instant and I'd remove all of that. And I did that multiple times. Like I mean, I've spanked him for disobedience or whatever else I assumed was disobedience. That's the crap. Is where's the line,
Hmm.
you know? But he saw me. He saw me at my worst, and I know families do. I know your kids are going
Yeah.
to see the worst in you. But my worst is embarrassing when I look back at it.
Dude, all of our worst are embarrassing. You are
Yeah.
not alone in that feeling, man. I promise you
Yeah.
that. So you said that you've now, like, you're not spanking your kids. That's a big change. That's
Yeah.
something you took out of your life. Is there
Yeah.
something you added in
Yeah.
your fathering?
Yeah, absolutely. So with all of them, and you don't need to do this as much with the older ones, or it just looks different. I added space. I added patience, a ton of it. I added not talking, and I know I can talk a lot.
Tell me what that means. You added no talking. Is that like
Yeah.
spending time with them and just being silent with them, or what?
So a lot of times when we specifically as dads get frustrated with our kids, it's one
Hmm.
that maybe they're doing something annoying, but when they're upset and they're crying and they won't stop, that's when dads are like, "All right, that's enough. Like we're done. Stop it right
Totally.
now." Right? Like you're just
Yeah.
like can all of the crazy. Like we're logical, so we don't feel all that. We're just like, okay, we can't move on until we fix this, and we can't fix it when you're freaking out, right?
Hmm.
Well, they don't they don't get that, and they're not like that. Even the boys aren't like that yet. They're not fully logical yet. They're all of the emotions of a fully like full human, no way to express it, and sometimes no way to like understand what they're feeling. It's just, I don't know, I'm just crying. It's just like when your kids get hurt, they cry. When we get hurt, we don't usually cry. There's just a difference, right? And so what I mean by not talking is Wyatt was out of his mind last night about wanting to do something, and Zeke was home. He was over, and it wasn't going Wyatt's way, and he was all upset. Well, he goes into the bathroom, and he's just like my dad would have called sulking, but he's crying, he's upset. And instead of doing anything else, I just walked in, I sat on the toilet, and I grabbed him, and I put him on my lap, and I just held him, and I just waited. And that's it. I mean, sometimes that works. Sometimes they like last night it didn't work. He walked out of the room and turned the light off on me, but I didn't go in there. Yeah. He like walked out. He's like, I'm gonna go talk to mom. I'm like, totally cool. That's fine too, man. Go work it out. It's okay if it's not me. And like, I literally shut the light off and shut the door on me. I'm like, yeah, I was still here, bro. But I
Dude, isn't
didn't
that
say
funny?
anything.
My wife. Dude, that's so funny. That is exactly like they'll come to me to go do fun stuff, but if they're crying, I don't know how to help them, so they go straight to my wife. I mean, she's the
Yeah,
one who helps them breathe and calm, and I'm like, dude, what's wrong? What's wrong? Let's figure this out. That is
yeah,
so relatable, man. We just want to fix it. We think we have it all, and I
yeah,
love that. I love that you just hold them and you're just quiet. I need to learn that better.
yeah. I've been hearing this whole thing about like hug your kids and don't let go till they stop hugging you. You may find they'll just hold on for a long time if they're really upset. I don't know. But with the youngest, she's 3. She'll go out of her mind, and I just hold her and I breathe. Just Like, you know what I mean? And they'll find that rhythm. I will pull her so that her chest is against my chest, where my heart is literally beating over her heart.
Mm.
I don't know if that does anything, but I believe that the heart has like some kind of, there's like some kind of energy you put out about 6 feet out. And so I put her as close to my heart as I can so that her body and all of her energy can feel mine. And then I just try to bring all of my senses down, because that's what's going to help have her do that.
Dude, that's really beautiful. Yeah, I think that does work. I mean, I remember being a kid and being held and how comforting that was. Yeah, I think that's a real thing, man.
Yeah.
I love, there was something that you said, I don't know if it was if you wrote it, the quote or something you're talking about, but it said, be the best dad or best version of yourself so your kids have the best example to follow.
Yeah.
How'd you come up, how'd you arrive at that? And what does that mean?
So I have a really good friend who said, like, our ceiling is their floor. That's how he put it.
Mm.
And I love that statement, so I stole it. I told him I was going to steal it, but I always tell people that
dude, everything's stolen.
Right?
It's all good,
nothing
man.
new under the sun, right?
It's all good, dude. Jesus already said everything.
Right?
Yeah.
But he said that, and it really does resonate with me. So I think about what example am I setting? You know, like what am I doing that basically, how do I not just have them start at the top level of a ranch? Like, how do I build a skyscraper that gives them a launch pad, right? And so, like, physically, and that's where I start most people. I'm like, if you're not working out, it has nothing to do with you having to work out. Working out does so much and creates an example that they start to follow. Boys, when they're teenagers, they want muscles because like all of a sudden they start noticing girls and they want to look good for the girls. If you're the guy who works out, your kid's going to be like, Dad, what do I got to do? I know, because I have a 19-year-old son, and that's exactly what happened. I'm like, come to the gym with me. So, like, they'll want to do that. If they think about how they want to live their life, most of us are dreaming of like Ferraris and houses and the beach and all that stuff. That may be crazy far off, like pipe dreams. But if you're the parent who has financial stability and financial ability to be like, hey, we're going to go on this trip and I'm taking everybody, and they see that you're doing that and you're paying for it, then when it comes to money, they're like, what do you do? Like, Dad. And again, I'm able to say, this is what I do. Here's how I do it. Come with me. Everything is come with me for me. It's however I can bring you along. That's what I want to do. And so I think that's the best example, is becoming the best version of myself. And then, because that's who they're going to remember. That's the beauty of my 3-year-old having me now than having my 19-year-old having me when he was 3. Because when my 19-year-old was 3, I was total junk.
I doubt you're a total junk, but I get your sentiment for sure.
The number one thing that happened to me was I could not separate God from church. And I had a pretty dark experience as a pastor, and that's actually what took me out of the church. But a pretty dark experience where because I could not separate God from the church, I saw God as abandoning me when the church did that. And that's not his that's not his fault. That's just people. But what that did for me was it pulled God out of the church. And so the God that I've met that was like, I want you to see me. I want you to see you the way I see you. That God I met outside of the church in the dark times. Mm-hmm. And so that's actually what brought me to the point of being able to say, all of those people that went through all of that crap that were like, God, why? In those moments when they're saying, God, why? I don't even look at the whole, like the footprints in the sand where he's like, those are the moments I carried you. He's like, no, I left you here because it was going to make you stronger. And we needed you stronger, because when you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to take beatings and you'll be able to handle them. And I look at that. As that now.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many people that are leaving church. You know, it's really a very common thing.
Yeah.
And the sad part is God goes with that generally, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like mm-hmm. God doesn't. I don't think God resides in a church. God is like everything, every heart. He works. I was talking to one of my buddies. He's on the earlier episode. He says, it's faulty to think that God's just working through one people, you know,
right?
Just like Satan only works on one people, you know, God's working through all of us. And
Yeah.
so, like, how did you reconcile that and find it out of the church? I'm super interested. I think this is like a great topic for a lot of people who maybe aren't
Yeah.
going to a traditional church. How did you find God out of it?
Um, Honestly, I think it comes back to, and it is scriptural where he says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he'll never stray from it. I really think that that's the case because I have like atheist friends that are like, yeah, you're stupid if you think there's a God that made all this. And I'm sitting here going, it takes so much more faith to believe what you believe than to believe that there was this intelligent, loving being who just was like, I want more of this and made it. Like that just feels easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because I grew up in it maybe. But for the most part, like I think it came from I think when it started to separate for me was really when I started to like just be around, just looking at like watching my children, looking at I'm standing there and I'll see, I said this, but I live in Tennessee and I'm standing on and I used to sell land. I still do it here and there, but like I'll be standing on these properties and I'm looking out over this body of water and I'm looking at all this beauty and in me it's just like, yeah, this is amazing. And then it became, oh, you're not just inside the walls. And I know I knew that, but I didn't feel it is the only, like
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't, I knew it in my head, but I didn't know it in my heart kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it started to go for me. And then, because what I really I needed God separated from the church from my standpoint was because I always felt like God was looking for a way to send me to hell. Like really, it was just like you have to be perfect. And even though I know like Jesus died on the cross for you and he died for your sins and now you can be with God. But if you don't live the way he wants you to, you're probably still gonna go to hell. That's the way I thought or felt, or that's the way it just seemed to me. And so to be able to take God away from that and then him go, no, man, like I'm for you. I'm always for you. You're mine. You're my kid. And then I think he just opened up my heart to my own children. Like he opened up my heart to be able to go, look at how you look at them. Like I tear up right now. And it's not God loving me. It's how I think about like when I hold Wyatt's face and I say, thank you for coming to me. Like I see his face and I'm like, how could I not love you? There's nothing you could do on this planet that would stop me from loving you. Yeah, sure, you could do stuff that would separate you from me because you go to jail or whatever. But like, I'm always going to love you and I'm always going to hope for you and want the best for you. And I think that at some point when I felt that, it was like he opened my heart up to that. And then he was like, hey, that's how I feel about you. And then it just like, that's when like that feeling of like, I don't know, just peace and safety kind of falls all over you. You're like, oh my gosh, like you really don't care about all the crap in me. Like you have, like I'm yours. So that's it. Like a kid, your son is in diapers and he like sits in his room and you don't know what he's doing. You go in there and he's got the diaper off. It's full of poop. He's smeared it all over the walls. It's all over him. And you're like, what in the world, right? But do you love him less? No, you get down in the mess and you start to clean him off. And I mean, if you're like me now, you're going to laugh. You're like, oh, your mom is going to be so mad. And then you're like, oh, well, I guess we get down in this, you know? I know I'm talking a lot. I apologize, but
No, please go.
I've been saying today, I said it 3 times today to guys I've been talking to, leave nothing unsaid. Leave nothing unsaid because you don't know how much time you have. And when you look at your kids, like, oh, it'll bring on the waterworks. When I look at my kids, like if I didn't tell you I love you enough, then I'm going to say it 10 more times because you need to hear it. And when I'm gone, they can say, yeah, Dad, I know Dad loved me. Everything he said and did, he was trying to tell me he loved me. And so like the beauty of even just that saying, here's something you can do. And I think it resonated with guys because most of us are like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave that as something to do. And guys are like, dude, my kids are changing in front of me. My relationship with them is deeper almost automatically. I'm telling them I'm grateful that they came to be with me, that they're my kid and I get to watch them grow and whatever they're going to do in the world, I get to see it and cheer them on. And then these kids they're hugging longer and their faces are lighting up. They're telling me these stories. I mean, I'll literally read these DMs to my wife like with tears running down my face. Like this is what it's about, and this was the whole purpose of what I've been doing. And that's not me, that's them. That's them doing it. I just is the guy that was like, maybe we should try something else. And it worked for me, so I'm sharing it, you know?
Well, thank you, man. Dude, your stuff really does hit hard, and it's pure. It's just pure love. I really feel it. It's definitely improved the way I view my kids. So, dude, I want to give you the final thought, man. To talk to our brothers out there who want to be better dads, who might be not feeling great. Like, give us your final word, testimony, whatever you want to say.
I'll go two things. One, it's never too late to start. I don't care if your kids are in their 30s. It's never too late. So start to be that guy that just calls his son or his daughter that's 25 and be like, hey, I wanted to let you know that I love you. I love what I'm watching you do. And I'm glad I get to watch you do it. It's fantastic. And I love you. They'll be like, thanks. But I guarantee you, if you keep that up, they'll expect it. Like they'll not expect it like, oh, my dad has to say this, but they'll look forward to it. And it will continue to change. You've got years. I mean, what? Your kid's 25? You're going to be around, like prayerfully, you're going to be around till they're 60? That's 35 years of just loving the snot out of them. Do it, right? We just start earlier when our kids are younger. And so do that. Like, it's never too late. And then two, I would say be as humble as you possibly can, because we don't know everything. So be willing to try something that maybe doesn't fully resonate with what you think it should, like things should be. You know, if you're a dad who's been spanking your kids, I'm not saying that like everything's going to work out, but see what happens if you just make the decision to stop and try a different way. Just be humble enough to be willing to learn.
Dude, right on, man. Total. I love it. Dude, Nate, thank you so much. This has been super enlightening. I'm just really happy for what you're doing and spreading that light. So thank you.
Absolutely, man. Happy to do it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. More importantly, I hope you feel closer to your Creator. If you find yourself wanting to strengthen your relationship with God, I'm a huge fan of the Skylight app. It's full of beautiful, high-quality daily spiritual practices. Finally, never forget, in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him.